Hey guys, this video is going over the margin of error notes. So the margin of error is basically just a calculation that helps us figure out how spread apart our data is. Sometimes there's outliers in data that make it appear the average is higher or lower. So margin of error is just something that we calculate. A lot of times you're going to see that it says margin of error within a 95% confidence level. That's just something that we say all the time, so don't worry about that part. The other thing is sometimes you might have a few extra pieces of information just to kind of help you see the whole picture of the data, but these are the only two pieces of information that you need to find the margin of error. You need the standard deviation, which the problem will tell you, and the sample size. So just be careful. Sometimes they might give you the population and the sample. So just make sure you pick the sample size. And so we're just going to take the standard deviation number divided by the square root of the sample size and then multiply that answer by 2 and we're done. So this is also an important concept. If you want to have a smaller margin of error, you need to increase your sample size. And that should be kind of like common sense. The more data you collect, the more accurate your data is going to be. So if you collect data from 50 people, that's not going to be as accurate as collecting data from 500 people. So that's just something to look out for in certain problems. All right, so I'll just do the first example with you. A store manager wanted to determine the average age of customers in their store. Out of the 2,000 customers they had that day, they randomly sampled 100. So 100 is our sample size. They found the average was 24. We don't need that piece of information. The average or the mean is not a part of the formula. With a standard deviation of 3 years. So I need the 3. I need the standard deviation and I need the sample size. So the margin of error is 2 times the standard deviation, which is 3, divided by, let me get my special character, the square root of my sample size, which was 100. All right, and so you'll just type that into the calculator. You can type it in exactly the way that I have it written here and see what you get. Number 2, what could the manager do to decrease the margin of error next time? This is always the answer. Increase your sample size. That's the only way to get a smaller margin of error. All right, so if you want to pause the video here and try the next one, and then I'll go over the answer. All right, so an aquarium worker randomly selected 60 of the 600 tanks. So I need the 60. The mean I don't need. The standard deviation is 4. I need that. So the margin of error 2 times the the standard deviation, which is 4, divided by I was going to be able to just quickly copy and paste that, but that didn't work. The square root of 60. Type that in the calculator, figure out what that equals. What would happen to the margin of error if you sampled 35 tanks? Well, 35 is less than 60. So if you collect less data, your margin of error will be higher. All right, so pretty much every single problem is exactly the same. So try the problems on slide 3. And then if you get done with the statistics Google slide and you get done with this Google slide, there is a Google form classwork that says statistics and margin of error that you can do, and I would do that before parallelograms.